Most people believe that this ocean is entirely blue, but in reality, it's green. From fake countries to impossible mountains, from lying maps to twisted facts about famous places, the truth is stranger than you think. Now, let's get started with our countdown of the 50 biggest geography lies that you believed. Number 50. Mount Everest is the world's tallest mountain. Let's start with the big one. Everyone knows Mount Everest is the tallest mountain on Earth, right? Wrong. This is probably the biggest lie in geography. The real tallest mountain is Mauna Kea in Hawaii. From base to peak, it's 33,500 feet tall. That's 4,500 feet taller than Everest. The only reason nobody talks about this is because most of Mauna Kea is underwater. So technically, you'd need scuba gear to climb the world's actual tallest mountain. Number 49. The Sahara Desert is just sand. When people picture the Sahara, they see endless sand dunes. But sand only covers about 25% of the Sahara. Most of it is actually rocky plateaus, gravel plains, and mountains. The sand dune image comes from movies and postcards, but it's not what most of the Sahara actually looks like. Number 48. The Red Sea is red. The Red Sea has red right in the name, so the water must be red, right? The water is actually blue like any other sea. The name comes from seasonal algae blooms that sometimes create reddish patches, but 99% of the time it looks like normal blue ocean water. Number 47. Alaska is huge compared to other countries. Speaking of map lies, Alaska looks enormous on most maps, bigger than Brazil or Australia. Brazil is 5 times bigger than Alaska, and Australia is 4 times bigger. The same map distortion that makes Greenland look massive also makes Alaska look like a giant when it's actually much smaller than you think. Number 46. The Caspian Sea is a sea, and it's salty like an ocean. But it's actually the world's largest lake. It's completely surrounded by land with no connection to any ocean. We just call it a sea because it's so big and salty, but geographically it's a lake. Number 45. Rivers always flow north to south. This seems logical because we think of north as up and south as down on maps. But rivers flow downhill, and downhill can be in any direction. The Nile flows north. The Mississippi flows south. The Amazon flows east. Rivers don't care about your map directions, they just follow gravity. Number 44. Holland and the Netherlands are the same thing. Millions of people think Holland is a country. It's not. Holland is just one region inside the Netherlands. Calling the whole country Holland is like calling all of America Texas. Some Dutch people actually get annoyed when you do this, so now you know better. Number 43. Africa is mostly in the southern hemisphere. Look at most maps, and Africa seems like it's mostly below the equator. Wrong again. Almost 2/3 of Africa is actually in the northern hemisphere. Countries like Egypt, Libya, Algeria, and most of Nigeria are all north of the equator. Number 42. Australia never gets snow. Everyone thinks Australia is just hot deserts and beaches. Well, Australia gets tons of snow. Some years, they get over 9 feet of snow in the mountains. Australia even has ski resorts and has produced Olympic gold medalists in skiing. The whole Australia is always hot thing is completely fake. Number 41. Finland has more cars than saunas. Here's a weird one that sounds reasonable. Finland has about 3.2 million vehicles for 5.5 million people, but they actually have over 3 million saunas. That means there are more saunas than cars. In Finland, saunas are literally everywhere. Homes, offices, even embassies have them. Number 40. Kansas City is in Kansas. This seems obvious, right? Kansas City should be in Kansas. Well, the main Kansas City is actually in Missouri. There is a smaller Kansas City in Kansas, but when people talk about Kansas City, they usually mean the Missouri one. Geographic naming at its most confusing. Number 39. Sydney is Australia's capital. Sydney is Australia's most famous city with the Opera House and Harbour Bridge. So it must be the capital, right? Nope. The capital is Canberra, a city most people have never heard of. They made Canberra the capital in 1913 because Sydney and Melbourne couldn't stop fighting over which one should be the capital. Number 38. Cape Town is South Africa's capital. Well, South Africa actually has 3 capitals. The administrative capital is Pretoria, the judicial capital is Bloemfontein, and the legislative capital is Cape Town. Most countries have 1 capital, but South Africa decided to split it up between 3 different cities. Number 37. Geneva is Switzerland's capital. Geneva sounds important and international, so it should be Switzerland's capital. Wrong. It's actually Bern, which is only the 5th largest city in Switzerland. Same with Zurich, also not the capital. This pattern happens a lot where the biggest, most famous city isn't the capital. Number 36. New Mexico is part of Mexico. Surprisingly, many Americans think New Mexico is actually part of Mexico, not a US state. New Mexico has been a US state since 1912, longer than Alaska and Hawaii. But the name confuses people so much that New Mexico had to put New Mexico USA on their license plates to stop the confusion. Number 35. Iceland is icy and Greenland is green. Everyone knows this fun fact, that Iceland is actually green and Greenland is actually icy, and the Vikings named them backwards to trick people. This is partially true but mostly fake. Iceland was named Iceland because of its icy fjords. Greenland was named to attract settlers, but Iceland isn't actually that green. Number 34. Maine is America's easternmost state. Look at a US map, and Maine is clearly the farthest east, right? Technically wrong. Alaska's Aleutian Islands actually cross the 180th meridian, which means part of Alaska is so far west that it's actually east. So, Alaska is both the westernmost and easternmost US state. Number 33. Madagascar and Britain are the same size. On most world maps, Madagascar and Great Britain look about the same size. In reality, Madagascar is twice as big as Britain. Another victim of map projection lies that make everything near the equator look smaller than it really is. Number 32. Christopher Columbus discovered the Earth is round. This is taught in schools everywhere. Total myth. People in Columbus's time already knew the Earth was round. Even the ancient Hindu scriptures mentioned this. The idea that medieval people thought the world was flat is a complete fabrication that somehow made it into textbooks. Number 31. Toilets flush differently in Australia. The Coriolis effect makes water swirl differently in different hemispheres, so toilets must flush the opposite direction in Australia, right? Completely false. The Coriolis effect only works on massive scales like hurricanes. Your toilet water swirls based on the direction the water jets are pointed, not which hemisphere you're in. Number 30. There are 24 time zones. Basic math says 24 hours equals 24 time zones around the world. Reality is much weirder. There are actually more than 24 time zones because some countries use half-hour and quarter-hour offsets. But there are many countries that don't fit the neat 24-zone system at all. Number 29. The Panama Canal goes east to west. The Panama Canal connects the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, so it must go east to west, right? Look at a map closely. It actually goes northwest to southeast. Panama has a weird shape that makes the canal run in a totally different direction than you'd expect. Number 28. Route 66 is America's longest highway. Route 66 is famous as America's ultimate road trip, so it must be the longest highway. It's not even close. Route 66 is about 2,400 miles long. The longest highway is actually US Route 20, which stretches over 3,300 miles from Boston to Oregon. Number 27. Florida is America's southernmost state. Before Hawaii became a state, Florida was the southernmost. But now, Hawaii is way further south, almost reaching the 21st parallel, much closer to the equator than Key West, Florida. Number 26. Most people think of Egypt as a Middle Eastern country. Geographically, Egypt is in Africa. It's an African country that shares borders with other African nations. The confusion comes because Egypt is often grouped culturally with Middle Eastern countries, but location-wise, it's definitely African. Number 25. The Arctic and Antarctic are equally cold. Both poles are freezing, so they must be about the same temperature. Antarctica is actually much colder than the Arctic. The lowest air temperature ever directly recorded on Earth was minus 89.2 degrees Celsius at the Russian Vostok station in July 1983. Satellite measurements have detected even lower ground temperatures, reaching as low as minus 98 degrees Celsius, while the coldest temperature recorded in the Northern Hemisphere was minus 69.6 degrees Celsius at an automatic weather station in Greenland in December 1991. Number 24. Only Australia has kangaroos. Actually, it is a common misconception that kangaroos are found exclusively in Australia. While the vast majority of kangaroo species and populations live there, kangaroos are also indigenous to New Guinea. Tree kangaroos. This distinct type of kangaroo lives in the tropical rainforests of New Guinea. Number 23. Krakatoa is east of Java. There was even a famous movie called Krakatoa, East of Java. The problem is, Krakatoa is actually west of Java. The movie title was completely wrong, but millions of people saw it and learned the wrong location. Number 22. The Great Wall of China is 4,000 years old. Most of what tourists see today was actually built during the Ming Dynasty, which was only about 600 years ago. The really ancient parts are mostly crumbled ruins. So when you visit the ancient Great Wall, you're mostly seeing something from the Middle Ages, not ancient China. Number 21. Diamond Head is a natural formation. This famous volcanic crater in Hawaii looks totally natural, and everyone assumes it formed naturally. While the crater is natural, the distinctive shape that tourists love was actually modified by humans. Military construction changed its appearance significantly. Number 20. The Dead Sea is the lowest point on Earth. The Dead Sea is definitely low, about 1,400 feet below sea level. But the lowest point on land is actually the shore of the Dead Sea, not the water itself. And there are places on the ocean floor that are much lower, but those are underwater. Number 19. The equator is the hottest place on Earth. Logic says the equator should be the hottest since it gets the most direct sunlight. But the hottest temperature ever recorded was in Death Valley, California, which is nowhere near the equator. Here's the twist. Death Valley holds the official world record for the highest air temperature ever reliably recorded. On July 10, 1913, the Furnace Creek area in Death Valley reached a scorching 56.7 degrees Celsius. But for ground temperature, which can be significantly hotter than air temperature, the Lut Desert in Iran is the record holder. Satellite measurements between 2003 and 2010 recorded a maximum land surface temperature of 70.7 degrees Celsius in the Lut Desert. More recent satellite data from 2021 showed even higher surface temperatures, reaching up to 80.8 degrees Celsius. Number 18. Penguins only live in Antarctica. Everyone pictures penguins on ice in Antarctica, but most penguin species actually live in warmer places. There are penguins in South Africa, South America, Australia, and even some that live in deserts. Only a few species actually live in Antarctica. Number 17. The Pacific Ocean is blue. We call it the Pacific blue, but most of the Pacific Ocean is actually green due to algae and plankton. The deep blue color we associate with oceans only happens in very deep, clear water far from land. Number 16. Niagara Falls is the tallest waterfall. Niagara Falls is famous worldwide, so it must be the tallest. It's not even in the top 100. Angel Falls in Venezuela is over 979 meters or 3,212 feet tall, with Niagara's only 51 meters or 167 feet look tiny in comparison. Number 15. Everyone knows about the mysterious Bermuda Triangle in the Atlantic Ocean. Here's the thing. The triangle covers parts of the Atlantic, but also extends into the Caribbean Sea and Gulf of Mexico. It's not just in one ocean. Number 14. Las Vegas is in the desert. Las Vegas looks like a desert city with all that sand and heat. Technically, Las Vegas is in the Mojave Desert, but the city itself has been so developed and irrigated that it's not really desert anymore. It's more like an artificial oasis. Number 13. The Mediterranean is a sea. We call it the Mediterranean Sea. but it's actually almost completely enclosed by land, making it more like a very large lake. It only connects to the ocean through the narrow Strait of Gibraltar. Number 12. New York City has 5 boroughs. This is actually true, but here's the fake part everyone believes. Most people think Manhattan is the biggest borough. It's actually the smallest. Brooklyn is much larger than Manhattan in both area and population. Number 11. Chicago is called the Windy City, so it must be very windy, right? The nickname actually comes from politics, not weather. It was about Chicago politicians being full of hot air during the 1893 World's Fair. Chicago isn't even particularly windy compared to other cities. Number 10. The Golden Gate Bridge is famous for being golden-colored, except it's not golden at all. It's painted international orange, which is actually red. The golden name comes from the Golden Gate Strait it crosses, not its color. Number 9. Times Square is a perfect square. Well, Times Square in New York is called a square, so it must be square-shaped. Look at it from above and it's actually more of an X shape or bow tie. It's definitely not square at all. Number 8. The continental US has 4 time zones. Most maps show 4 time zones across the continental US, but some states don't follow this. Arizona doesn't use daylight saving time, and Indiana used to be split between 2 time zones. It's messier than the neat 4-zone system suggests. Number 7. Mexico is south of the US. Americans always talk about going south of the border to Mexico. But look at a map carefully. Much of Mexico is actually west of the US, not south. The Texas-Mexico border runs mostly east-west, and many US cities are farther south than northern Mexico. Number 6. The North Pole has land under it. Unlike Antarctica, which is a continent, the North Pole is just floating ice over the Arctic Ocean. There's no land underneath the North Pole at all, just water and ice. Number 5. Australia is an island. Australia looks like a giant island, but by definition, it can't be an island because islands have to be smaller than continents. Since Australia is a continent, it technically can't be an island. The largest island is actually Greenland. Number 4. Europe and Asia are different continents. Look at any map and Europe and Asia are clearly separate continents with a border between them. But geographically, they're actually one giant landmass called Eurasia. Number 3. The Amazon rainforest produces 20% of the world's oxygen. This fact is everywhere, that the Amazon produces 20% of our oxygen and is the lungs of the Earth. Scientists have debunked this completely. The Amazon actually consumes almost all the oxygen it produces, and most of our oxygen comes from tiny ocean plants called phytoplankton. Number 2. Every school teaches that there are 7 continents, but different countries teach different numbers. Some say 6 continents, combining Europe and Asia. Others say 5, also combining North and South America. There's no universal agreement on what counts as a continent. Number 1. World maps show the real world. Here's the biggest lie of all. That world maps are accurate. The Mercator projection that most maps use is completely distorted. It makes northern countries look huge and southern countries look tiny. Africa looks small, but is actually bigger than China, India, the US, and Europe combined. Every flat map of the round Earth is distorted in some way. There is no accurate flat map of the world. So there you have it, 50 geography facts that are completely fake, but almost everyone believes them. Until next time, keep questioning everything, especially those maps on your wall. Don't forget to check out these other videos where I destroy more myths about our world. And remember, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell so you never miss content that will change how you see everything around you.